Some people say love never truly dies, but what if the person you love forgets it ever existed? Daniel Carter had spent 10 years building a life, successful, steady, everything he thought he wanted, but deep down he carried a ghost, the memory of the only woman he ever truly loved. Then one evening, fate threw him a jolting twist. He wasn't looking to meet anyone that night. It was just another evening, a quick stop at the coffee shop. Daniel walked into the dim-lit coffee shop. His mind was occupied with several thoughts. The building plan for his most recent project had still not been approved by the authorities. They said the idea was unusual, but then he hadn't spent a fortune traveling the world, studying architectural masterpieces to build something ordinary. The Grand Dome project was going to be extraordinary. He took a seat and browsed through the menu. A French toast maybe and a cappuccino, he thought. Just then, an awfully familiar voice had him turning in his chair abruptly. It was a lady seated only a table away. He called out her name, Lillian, his heart in his throat. And then she turned. Her face was the same, yet different. Older, but still the same woman who had once made the world disappear with just a look. His heart pounded. For years he had dreamed of this moment, wondered what he would say if he ever saw her again. But words eluded him now, because in her eyes, there was nothing. No spark of recognition, no flicker of surprise. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" she asked. The words cut deeper than he expected. She didn't remember him, not the late-night talks, not the laughter, not the way she once whispered his name like it was the best thing in the world. Indeed, 10 years was a long time, but how had she completely forgotten him? Daniel left that night with a storm raging inside him. How could she forget? He thought about the way she used to rest her head on his shoulder, the way she would tilt her head slightly when she was deep in thought, the way she once swore she would love him forever, but time had wiped it all away. Or so he thought. The next day, he went back hoping to see her again, and she was right there, sipping a cup of coffee. He knew that there would be chunks of chocolate melting at the base of the cup, just the way she liked it. Daniel found himself returning to the coffee shop more often. At first he told himself it was the atmosphere, the quiet hum of life, the scent of fresh espresso, the warm glow of evening lights spilling onto the sidewalk. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was there for her. There was something different about her, but he couldn't place it. The little things remained, the way she tapped her fingers on the counter, absent-mindedly, the way she bit her lip when she was focused on a book, the way her eyes softened when she talked about something she loved. Gradually, he summoned the courage to engage her in the brief conversation. He was drawn to her, again, just as he had been all those years ago. But this time, it was different, because this time she didn't know him. It was easy to talk to her, easier than he expected. She still had that spark, the same way she raised an eyebrow when she was skeptical, the same way her eyes lit up every time she laughed. But there was something else too, a new quietness. As their friendship grew, Lillian started to share more information about her life. Daniel learned that she owned the coffee shop. She had only moved back to the city recently, she said. A fresh start, a new beginning. Still, Daniel couldn't understand how she had forgotten him completely despite all that they had shared. Every so often he tried, small hints, subtle questions, a reference to a song they used to love, a mention of a place they had been, a story from the past that he hoped would unlock something, but every time she looked clueless. As they grew closer, Daniel found himself falling hopelessly in love with Lillian again, and she seemed to be opening up to him more and more with each passing day. Days turned into weeks, and soon a whole month had passed. One evening, Lillian shared a shocking piece of her past. She had been in a car accident 8 years ago. The impact had left her with partial memory loss, erasing fragments of her past, including their love story. It wasn't that she had forgotten him by choice. It wasn't indifference. It was a twist of fate that had stolen what they once had and buried it in the void of lost memories. Daniel felt his world shift, the storm inside him, the ache, the unanswered questions. All of it made sense now, but that didn't make it easier. If anything, it made it harder. He faced a choice. He could tell her the truth, reveal everything, and risk overwhelming her, forcing a history onto her that might never come back. Or he could say nothing. Let her be. Let her exist as she was now, and cherish the connection they were building. But what if one day she regained her memory? Daniel met his best friend Sam at their usual spot that night, a quiet bar where the elite came to unwind after a long day. His fingers tightened around his glass. Sam's words echoed in his mind. What if she forgot for a reason? What if this, right now, was his second chance? So, Daniel let go, not of her, but of the past, the need for her to remember, the ache of what was lost. Maybe love wasn't about clinging to old memories. Maybe it was about making new ones. He asked her out. A proper first date, no weight of history, no ghosts of the past, just the two of them, here and now. As they stepped out of the coffee shop together, the evening air crisp around them, something familiar stirred in the quiet. A sense of déjà vu, a feeling as if this had all happened before, and indeed, it had in another time, another life, now forgotten. Will this be happy ever after, or will the past come haunting? What do you think? Should Daniel have told Lillian the truth, or is some history better left forgotten? If you love stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. There's so much more where this came from.